Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I am popping in with a new card. This is for the Dare2BArtzy new challenge for October 2021, and our challenge theme is fall. So I am making a Slimline card today, and I have off camera cut basically my card bases, and I use the Wavy Slimline Framelits die set from Dare2BArtzy. So I cut that from some, I believe this paper that I use, the plaid paper, is called the Autumn Plaid Paper Pack. So I cut all that off camera, and I am just stamping the little Mr. Moose from the Christmoose stamp set from Dare2BArtzy. And I'm stamping that with some Dare2BArtzy Totally Black ink. And I'm going to color this with my Shinhan Touch alcohol markers today. So I will be bringing those in, and I'm going to go ahead and color this up. And sorry, my camera, it looks like it's moving, and I think it's because when I put it in my my holder, when I put my cell phone in my holder to video it, for some reason I didn't get it level, and so it does get a little wonky in places. So hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. But I'm going to go ahead and color this up, and I'll put on a little music, and I'll come back when we're finished. Okay, and we're back. I have finished coloring this image, and I didn't mention before, whenever I stamp and color, I always use, my cardstock is Nena 110 pound cardstock. So whenever I'm using alcohol markers, that's my paper of choice. So I finished that image up and just added a little bit of black jelly roll to the eyes and then to the mouth, just to darken up those areas. So now I am taking the piece of white cardstock that I cut from the Wavy Slimline Framelits, and I am using the leaves from the Foxy Greetings stamp set. There are a couple solid leaves in that set, and I'm just stamping those onto the white cardstock, and I'm using a very light colored ink from Gina K Designs. This is actually Whisper ink. It is one of the amalgam inks, so it's basically made for doing no line coloring, and I thought it would be nice to add sort of a subtle kind of leaf print background on this little piece of cardstock, so that's what I'm doing here, is just stamping that. And I did notice that it dried back quite a bit lighter than what I expected, so it's fairly light, and it's kind of not as noticeable as I had hoped it would be. I think in hindsight I might have used maybe a little bit darker color if I were to do this again, but when you look at it very closely, you can see a nice leaf pattern. So I'm just stamping that a few times, trying to get my placement right, and I am cleaning my stamps in between each stamping with some baby wipes. And that's what I usually use. I use the I believe they're the Natural Care baby wipes, so they don't have any kind of harmful chemicals or anything, so they work perfectly for stamps. I'm just stamping that up, and I have this sped up quite a bit just because it was a bit of a process to do this background to get all the placement right. I admit that I am not the best person at stamping backgrounds. I always seem to get placement a little wonky, and never seem to get it very evenly spaced. There's definitely a science or an art to that. So stamping this up a few more times here. And while I'm finishing up this panel, I just wanted to remind everybody that the Dare2BArtzy challenges are open to everyone. You do not necessarily have to use Dare2BArtzy products to play in our challenges, but be sure to, if you're going to add your project, be sure to head on over to the Dare2BArtzy blog post that should be up on Dare2BArtzy.com, and then look for the blog link there and go to today's post, and you will find a place to link your projects to. And as always, at the end of the month they will announce winners for this month's challenge, and I believe that the winner gets a gift certificate to the Dare2BArtzy store, so that you can use to purchase stamps or dies or whatever. So always great to win a fun prize that you can use in your crafting, and the challenges are always fun, so we hope that you will play along with us. So I'm going to get my Misty out of the way, and I'm going to die cut my little Christmoose using the coordinating die set, and I'm adding a bit of repositionable tape just to hold that die in place while I run it through my die cutting machine off camera. And now I am using the piece of green cardstock that I cut, and this cardstock actually was just from my stash. It's just a dark green cardstock, and I used some shimmer spray that I have in my stash. It's actually a gold, and I am just adding some gold splatters to this background, and I decided that using it from the sprayer itself was making the dots a little bit too big, so I'm going to use a paintbrush and splatter on some little finer splatters here. And I actually had a huge disaster doing this because I knocked over my sprayer, and I ended up with gold ink all over my glass media mat, and I ended up having to recut some of my paper. So So now I'm going to use the largest fishtail flag from the Wavy Slimline from Framelits, and I am cutting that out of some orange. It's a dark orange cardstock. Again, this cardstock is from my stash. And then off camera, I cut a whole bunch of leaves from the, ooh, which set are these from? I believe these are also from, these are from the Foxy Greetings set. So these are the coordinating dies for the Foxy Greetings set. So I cut those, and then I think I will have to link it below, but I think there's some other dies that have leaves, and for some reason I don't have the name off the top of my head. So I cut those off screen just in a bunch of different colors of cardstock. And I have stamped on my little fishtail flag there the Autumn Greetings sentiment from the Foxy Greetings set. Stamped that with some embossing ink and heat embossed with some black embossing powder. And I had to use a little black jelly roll pin on the very end, because when I wiped away the powder from my anti-static powder, it actually wiped away part of just at the S, the little swirl at the end of the S, that didn't get heat set. So a neat little trick you can do is take a black jelly roll pin and you can fill that in, and no one will ever know that you didn't heat emboss it. It works perfectly. So here I am messing around with my placement for the leaves and my little moose. And I'm going to be adding these to my card panel just with some liquid glue. I'm just trying to figure out which leaves I want to use. I kind of wanted to give the appearance that the leaves were sort of floating across my card panel, or blowing across my card panel, as the case may be. And so I'm trying to figure out which colors I want to use, trying not to use too many of the same colors with each grouping. So I'm just trying to figure out where everything is going to go on my card panel and how far across I want to have my blowing leaves here. So when I'm done with that, I realized that I needed to add a little bit more dimension to some of the leaves. So I'm using a 2mm, I guess this is like a scoring stylus, and I'm just adding a little sort of vein down the center of those leaves to give it a little more character. And that's pretty easy, and then kind of smoothing it out with the larger end of my scoring stylus. And this, the larger end is 6mm. So, and I'm just using the foam insert from my Misty to do this. You definitely want to do this on a foam surface. So when I have that all done, I'm going to add everything to my card panel using some score tape and some dimensional foam, and get my little moose in place. I'm adding some dimensional foam to him as well. So I did adhere the plaid layer directly to my Slimline card base with some score tape, and then the green layer is added with some foam tape as well. So just adding a little bit more dimension to the card. And then I am gluing on my leaves to the panel with a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm holding those in place while they dry with my reverse tweezers. I have, I think, 3 sets of reverse tweezers, and I think they're an absolute must for the craft room, just because they're so versatile and they act as like an extra set of hands when you're gluing things, so they come in very, very handy. Playing around with the final colors and placement here for my leaves. I was being very fussy with my leaf placement. Adding a little bit of dimension to that, just a little slight leaf vein, just for a little added interest. And then get those final leaves popped onto my card with some liquid glue. I used a couple different types of papers for my leaves. I used some regular just cardstock from my stash, but I also used some foil cardstocks in copper and gold, and I think the added shine really makes the leaves stand out. It's a nice pop of bling for the card. So here I am adding some little gems. These are Pink Fresh Studio gems. I don't know exactly what they're called. They are sort of a purpley color, but when you look at them straight on, they have a gold, sort of a gold sheen to the top of them, so I thought they went well with my card panel, just adding a little bit of bling here and there on the card for a finishing touch. And that's going to wrap up my card for today. Be sure to head over to the Dare2BArtzy blog and check out the challenge. Thank you so much for joining me. Please click the like and subscribe to receive all of my content. Thank you.